Tess. Good morning, Marvelous Middle School families, friends. Welcome to another stimulating and exciting round of our 8th grade convocation speeches. Before we get started, I just wanted to know if there are any announcements from any teachers, anything anybody has to say. All right, wonderful. Well then, without further ado, we will start with Sophia Kansavoy.
Earlier this year, back in October or so, I was sitting at home and was very, very bored. With nothing else to do, I turned to a hobby I occasionally engage in, reading random articles on websites like Wikipedia. I wasn't exactly sure of what kind of thing I wanted to read, but I already had the Bryn Mawr website open as I had been looking through for other information, so I decided that I might as well just look through that. I ended up looking through several articles that discussed the history of the school. They were just about things like the building of the KVB gym/cafeteria and how Bryn Mawr operated during the 1918 influenza pandemic, but they were interesting enough. Around December, I was walking past the cafeteria with a friend whose sisters had attended BMS for quite a few years. We got on to the topic of houses, and my friend said something along the lines of, "Did you know that the houses were originally named after the school's founders, but that got changed a few years ago?" No, I didn't know that. The friend knew that from her sisters, who had apparently been attending the school when the change took place. I, however, only came to the school last year and had no family members who'd attended previously to learn things like that from. It turned out that there were, in fact, quite a lot of seemingly common knowledge things I didn't know. 28 new students joined the middle school this year, and 26 joined the year before, so it turns out that there's quite a few other people who also might not know much about BMS history, and out of those students, a few of them are bound to want to learn. Well, I happen to quite enjoy writing, so when thinking about a seminar project, I wanted to use my writing skills to help educate students about the history of our school. So there it was. I had my idea, a book with a retelling of several important events from Bryn Mawr's past. I was going to interview a key person from major events from the past few decades, write about how the events took place from their points of view, and collect them into a book for new and old middle schoolers to read. I didn't do that. With just a few short months to create my project, with so many events and alumni to interview, there simply wasn't enough time to write the book I imagined. Instead, I chose to write an article featuring much shorter descriptions of the events. It only included events from the 1950s onwards and stuck to around a paragraph for each, but I think that that's enough to serve as a starting point for anyone who wants to learn a bit more about Bryn Mawr's past. Oral history, a method of conducting historical research through recorded interviews of people who have experienced or have connections with certain events, is incredibly important because, according to Mr. Glenn Woodman, an educator who uses oral history in his classes, it gives voice to the voiceless in history. It helps give perspectives from sources without specific biases, and everyone needs to be a part of the historical narrative and historical belonging. I didn't manage to interview as many people as I wanted to, and mostly used secondary sources for the article. I ended up with 5 events. The interviews I did conduct, like my interview with Ms. Jeanette Budzik, the Director of Service Learning, were very informative, though. Still, I'm pretty proud of what I created, and if I had another year to work on this project, I would try to interview more people and make it more in-depth. If you ever want to learn more about BMS history and things like the building of the Tri-School Bridges, the founding of the Arts Council, and more sound interesting, Ms. McEnborough will be sending my article out as part of the new student orientation this summer, and you can email me if you'd like the link. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Fiona Brennan-Samil. In the beginning of my seminar journey, I found it to be a huge challenge. My interests were focused on a topic, but I was not sure how I was going to put these ideas under the guidelines of my seminar project. Today I can say that in spite of these struggles, I have learned a few things that relate to my seminar project. My topic is making a book about mental health, a topic that is near to me and my family as we lost a close friend. So I had my project. Now my struggles began. I have a fear of talking to strangers. I did, however, manage to show up for all my meetings. Since coming to Bryn Mawr, I have struggled talking to teachers and people I don't know. Though I am an introvert and extremely shy, I did not hesitate on the playground With this in mind, I thought I could help children like me with their struggles because the simple answer is don't be yourself. In our play, wait. I knew I could draw and the story came easily. However, my fear of talking to people hindered my progress throughout my seminar adventure. If I had more time, I would have done more marketing for my book. I would have asked for help earlier and would have asked as many people as I could. And, those are the people I interviewed. Despite my challenges, I had a product. My first step was picking people, which was a huge problem since my aforementioned fear of talking to strangers. I interviewed my friend, my mom, my therapist, and my stepmom. None of the conversations were stressful at all because I knew them. My first interview was with my mom, an avid reader, an English major, and a prolific writer in her profession. She taught me how to format a children's book and how to convey my message. We talked about the length of a good children's book and a fun time remembering all the books she read to me as a child. I then interviewed my therapist. This was a safe choice because she is a mental health professional. She knows me and helped me identify the main idea of my book. I interviewed a friend, Josie, and she was a great help. She told me about what children liked and described her younger siblings. Finally, I interviewed my collaborator, my stepmom. She agreed to write the text of my book because she has excellent handwriting. Rather than using images from the internet, I began to sketch. This took a whole lot longer than I expected. I had to test the paper, the ink, the pencil, the eraser. I ran through 21 drafts with just a pencil and my imagination to get to what it is today. I inked it, then immediately regretted inking it, so I tried again. Finally, I got a product close to what I wanted, but then I realized the paper couldn't hold a lot of watercolor properly. So I completely redesigned the characters to meet my needs, and guess what? I finished. But then I spilled Mod Podge all over the pages, and they stuck together. I was so frustrated that I decided to do it completely digital, but that idea was rejected. So I started again and did not attempt to bind or paint. I got a completely penciled book. All in all, I've spent about 70 hours working on this book. It has been a tremendous challenge and learning experience. Writing a book is hard. Gathering information, interviewing people is difficult, and the process is exhausting. Through blood, sweat, and especially tears, I can say I'm proud for pushing myself through adversity. And there's my presentation. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Annabella Bizzuto, and for my seminar project, I'm focusing on poverty and hunger amongst families and children in the United States. Through research, I found that 1 in 4 people live below the poverty line, and therefore are unable to receive the proper nutrients needed to stay healthy. With the lack of proper food, many children are unable to focus in school and cannot academically grow. Proper nutrition, especially for children, is very important as it can help them physically grow as well as mentally grow. After looking for possible clients, I came across the Baltimore Hunger Project, a local organization that specializes in helping out families and children who are not able to receive proper nutrition and food needed to stay healthy. This organization packages and delivers food and takes volunteers who are willing to help out. From the start, this organization has been a significant option. In the past, my family has volunteered there and shared how gratifying the experience was. After finalizing my topic, I decided to reach out to Linny Kahn, the director of the Baltimore Hunger Project. Through an interview with her, I discovered that the Baltimore Hunger Project not only takes food donations, but has opportunities for anyone to package, deliver, and donate other needed materials. My initial idea was to physically go and volunteer at the Baltimore Hunger Project with 2 or 3 of my classmates in April. After further research and looking into things, I found this idea was simply not going to work. It was very challenging to find a date that would work for myself, my family, my classmates, and the Baltimore Hunger Project. This roadblock caused some frustration, but I decided to look at the Baltimore Hunger Project website to scope out any other possible solutions for my something real. While giving my elevator pitch to a panel of 3 people, someone suggested a food drive and having students donate food and other needed materials. At first, I did not consider this idea, as I thought it would be too difficult to gather students to give donations. But after not being able to volunteer at this organization, I took this option more into consideration. After being unsure of any new ideas for this project, I started to become slightly overwhelmed. But with research and consideration, I decided to settle on the idea of a food drive. After reaching out to Linny Kahn again, she gave me a list of the most needed items for the Baltimore Hunger Project. Finally, after getting approval from Ms. Macumber, as well as the Baltimore Hunger Project, I decided to further my plan with Food Drive. I sent out an email to the middle school and gave them a list of possible items they could donate to the drive. I set out a box in the North Building lobby and collected donations over a week-long time frame. After collecting all the items, my parents and I drove down to deliver the food to the Baltimore Hunger Project. This experience made me think and required me to do things on my own and conduct more leadership and control than I ever had to. It persuaded me to push forward through difficult times and on a whole challenged me, but I feel as if I've gained a great amount of experience from this project. Thank you.
When you get to a place where you understand that love and belonging, your worthiness is a birthright and not something you have to earn, anything is possible. Brene Brown. I belong, I'm important, I am somebody. Beatrice Sparks. Being a person of color in a predominantly white institution is always a challenge, and one that I have experienced firsthand. Anything from the mispronunciation of my name or being called a completely different one, to facing disrespect based on my Indian cultures and traditions. But who could I go to when there isn't even one teacher in the middle school who identifies as being South Asian and understands my struggles? I decided I wanted to do something that would have a lasting impact on the middle school here at Bryn Mawr, even after I left for upper school. I decided that I wanted to be the person my younger South Asian peers could come to because that is something I longed to have when I was in a situation similar to theirs. Hi, my name is Tanvi Garg, and I decided to create a South Asian student union. At the beginning of this journey, we painted rocks centered around a word that inspired us. I chose youth. My project has come a long way since. Originally, I wanted to create handmade stuffed animals for NICU babies because ever since I could remember, all I've ever wanted to do was become a pediatric surgeon. I felt this idea would bring me closer to that dream, but this was more about me, and I wanted my project to go beyond that. This idea, while it was really interesting, was not something I thought would have a direct impact on my school community. I've always had an interest in DEI work, which is why I chose to be a Mosaic ambassador and to participate in a conference centered around making PWIs more inclusive called Hackback. I learned during that conference about what students want from the school to feel like they belong. Almost every single one of the 50 students said they wanted to have a safe space centered around a specific part of their identity. We made realistic game plans on how to implement these, which is what I used as a base for my ideas. At the time, the middle school offered a group called APITA, standing for Asian Pacific Islander Desi American. This group was a chance to have a safe space, and while it was very eye-opening, I didn't feel it was exactly what I wanted because a majority of it consisted of East Asian people. This idea was originally brought to me by a classmate, Nissa Ashraf, after one of the lunch meetings, and we both agreed the space didn't feel close enough to our roots, leading me to create a South Asian student union for the middle school. Its goal is to help the community and to continue providing a place of safety and belonging for youth. I spoke with some of the adults in the community who work hard to make our school more inclusive. My first interview was with Ms. Diane Nichols, the Senior Director of Institutional Equity and Inclusive Practice at Bryn Mawr. In her words, those spaces keep me alive. Really, they help me breathe better because they nurture me and affirm me and challenge me in a way that I can receive it, most times. Her experience with being Black in a society full of racism and prejudice proves that safe spaces helped her through tough moments, which is what I hope SASU will do for the classes to come. Similarly, during an interview with Teacher Sims, another DEI specialist, they said to me, having affinity groups is vital. Being a person of color, we go through different things that white people will not understand. This statement pretty much summed up my entire intention with the group I created, a place to talk to people like you about things other people will not understand. Before the meeting, I had to plan out where it would happen and when it would take place. I also wanted to make sure people knew about the meeting, so I sent out an email and put up flyers. I decided to bring some treats to make it more fun. During the first SASU meeting, we talked about a meeting schedule, which is once every 2 to 3 weeks. We also talked thoroughly about how we can get days off for holidays of other religions besides Jewish and Christian ones. One of the members created a petition, and it got more than 200 signatures to get a day off for Eid. This is step one of getting more representation for the variety of religions at our school. This project has pushed me to challenge myself in ways I didn't know I needed to. I learned that staying on top of things and having good time management skills are very important in order to be successful in the real world. I also got this opportunity to improve my public speaking skills, which is something I really enjoy. Overall, this project has helped me to support things I'm passionate about, and I'm very grateful for this class. Thank you for your time.
Wonderful job, seminarians. Wonderful job. Please join me in celebrating and congratulating one more time Sophia Cancevoy, Bryn Mawr History Stories. Fiona Brennan S., A Book on Mental Health. Annabella Bazzuto, The Baltimore Hunger Project. And Tanvi Garg, South Asian Student Union. Thank you all so much. There is a little bit of time left for some recess, so enjoy. We'll see you back here tomorrow.